by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
We're back. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network. Airing live from San Bernardino. And don't forget, longtime organizer, first-time radio host. And I'm going to keep that tagline as long as I want.
God,
I don't care how much.
That's never going to
you
die.
Keep arguing with me. Yeah, that's whatever, man. Until they picket this facility and tell me I can't do it anymore, I'm going to keep doing it. So,
Robert said he's going to withhold his labor.
I know he does. Then he threatens. Yeah, he threatens to strike all the time, and I keep telling him where the picket signs are, where the where the sticks are, and where the marker is for him to write it up and all that good stuff. But hey. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. I like the reason why I like to say it is I like to remind people that we should always be an organizer first, and I was always an organizer first, and I'm always going to be an organizer. So, anyway, obviously we have a great show. We got a lot going on. We had an incredible day today. I'm going to talk a little bit about it in a little while when I get into the 1932 news. But we had over 1,300 students here from I think more than 40 high schools in the area on campus today, on the property today. And what an incredible day to see what we witnessed. It's been a very busy day. Also have the employee rep committee, our shop stewards meeting happening in the building right now at the same time. So it's clearly been a day where we got a lot going on. And as I always like to start off with live shout outs. We got our live shout outs, those that are listening in live. I'd like to recognize you, at least those that we have been told to say your name, and we appreciate you listening in live. And some of you I actually saw earlier today with the career day that we had here on property. We got Blanca Pettigue from Public Defender, Andrea Ramos from Public Defender. We also have from the city of Grand Terrace, we have Jessica Lambero, Rigo Morales, and Miguel Estrada. We have Nicholas Lemaster and his crew at Guasti Park. All right. That's where we do our picnic too. So, man, you guys did such a great job out there, by the way, when we had our picnic just a few weeks back. Jolene Silva from ARMC. And then we have all the way from New York listening in, Dr. Brenda Boyd Bell tuning in. Brenda, appreciate you listening in live. Sherry told me that you guys chatted this morning. You'd be listening in. So we really excited to have you listening in. And also, you're going to be able to hear the show. And she can confirm that I've been a long-time organizer and first-time radio host. Susan Loftus, crime analyst. Kirk Garrison, criminalist. Helen Trend, mayor of San Bernardino, is listening in live. Just saw her earlier. She came and was just blown away by this event, as were all the other elected officials that were here. They were just shocked that we were able to have that many kids here, and it went as smooth as it did. Connie Bottini, Blanca Pettigrew from Public Defender, Andrea Ramos, Annette Lira from City of Colton, Jared Green from Daggett Airport. Think about that. Daggett Airport. That is cool. We got someone from Daggett Airport listening in live. And as I actually missed last week. My apologies. The fifth caller right now calling 909-889-8377. Again, 909-889-8377. Fifth caller is going to get a blanket. And I've got another surprise giveaway for those of you that are listening in live later on. Do you want to bring it over to the camera? Robert's on cue. You're upside down. Those are the Raider colors. One. This is the blanket that you're going to get if you are the fifth caller. You got to keep moving. There you go. Look, see, Robert's worked his way into the screen. Those of you that are listening are like, I want to see what it looks like. It is a really cool blanket, by the way. Really, yeah, and it's very warm. It's become a very popular item. Fifth caller, 909-889-8377. Someone will tell me as soon as we know who that lucky winner is that's listening in live. And those of you listening in live, make sure you stick to listening in live, because I'm actually going to pluck a name here at a point in the show. And when I pull that name, if you call within a few minutes, we're going to give you a blanket too. You got a couple minutes to call in when I call that name that's listening in live.
2 minutes?
They can't hear you.
Oh.
Got to turn your mic up.
Oh, that board operator.
So what's fair? 2 minutes, 5 minutes, a minute? What's fair?
Let's go 3.
5 minutes?
You want to
Okay,
go
I got
5?
2, I got 5. Let's split the baby. Split 4.
All right.
We'll do 4 minutes. When I say that name, I'm just going to pull one of these names here. And when I say that name later on in the broadcast, if you call in within 4 minutes, we're going to give you a blanket too. So,
Robert, give me a phone.
right? We'll be texting that person. Man, I just said your name. Anyway, our member job highlight is the San Bernardino County office, the San Bernardino County Assessor's Office. We highlighted this person, correct or no? Yes, we did. So Robert is telling me we highlighted this person. She's a senior. It's Sarah Hernandez. She's a senior office assistant in the Hesperia District Office of the Assessor. Her team estimates the value of all taxable property in the area. That value determines property taxes through the office, though the office doesn't collect payments or set the rates. In her role, she helps taxpayers understand their assessments, exemptions, and how Prop 13 protects their property values. As frontline staff, she answers questions from the public and helps keep the office running smoothly so appraisers can focus on their work. She takes pride in helping people understand the assessor's role and staying connected to her community. Thank you, Sandra. Really appreciate the work that you do. And don't forget, you can email us at radioshow@teamsters1932.org. That is radioshow@teamsters1932.org. So we have our first guest on, and our first guest is Adrian Hernandez from IATSE, and we just had the pleasure of meeting him a few days ago, and actually it was a couple of weeks ago now, maybe, right, Adrian?
Yes, sir.
And met at the Labor Council meeting. I was a little fired up at that meeting, and appreciate you responding and saying, "Hey, we're going to go on the show then," and you're on the show. So, Adrian, instead of me blabbering on to hear from me all the time, why don't you introduce yourself, what your role is at IATSE, and anything else you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, my name is Adrian Hernandez. I work with the IATSE. I just joined Local 122. I transferred from Local 614 here in San Bernardino, where I started. We met at that Labor Council meeting, and yes, you gave a very fiery, inspiring speech at that meeting. I believe we're going to buy a billboard now for the Labor Council.
Yeah, I made a motion at the meeting too.
Yeah, we walked away from that.
I caught everybody by surprise.
I took notes and I watched how you did it, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm watching what you're doing. I'm like, all right, next time I need to get something to pass. This is how we do it. Right?
That's
Get in there
right.
and fired up about it.
Who was going to argue the other side of it after all that?
Right. I was like, whoa, that was amazing. Yes, very convincing, very powerful.
Wasn't my first rodeo, as you could tell.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the whole thing, is getting that message out there, getting it to the people, right? And getting everybody involved and understanding that, what's going on and what we're about. I think that was the point that I got from you in that speech is, that's what we need to present to people. A lot of people don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know what the IATSE is about, right? And that's what we do. So everything that you aren't seeing or hearing on the radio show right now, that's what we do. So it's really different to be on this side of the microphone. Normally I'm on the other side. I have to be very quiet. I'm not supposed to be heard or seen. So that's our role, to put on a
We're
production.
breaking the rules.
Yes, to put on a production like this, to have the cameras rolling, the mic set up, everybody in position, from what you're wearing, what you're standing on, what you're seeing, to create that vision in arts and theater, from rock and roll to movies to television to live shows like this one. Everything that you don't see, that's us. And any kind of live entertainment, any kind of recorded entertainment, that's the IATSE. We're there, and you'll see our little emblem roll real fast in all those credits at the very end when no one's watching anymore. That's our little emblem there.
I found more people watch, because especially now that the Teamster Local appears sometime,
Yes,
logo
it does.
appears sometimes too,
Yeah.
that more people actually go to the end than you realize, because Ferris Bueller's Day Off started that whole, well, there's something at the end, so you
Yes.
need to hang around.
Yes, I remember when that first started in the movie theaters, because as soon as the movie's over, right, you would want to shuffle, get your things together, and get out before the crowd. And and now they have, you're right, they put the little outtakes or whatever at the end. So yes, a lot of times you find yourself staying.
I
There's
do.
got to be something more, get a teaser preview, or
Yeah.
who knows what they sneak in there. So yeah, that's us. That's what we do.
Yeah, I do. I do, obviously, because I want to see if what logos are there, and then there's a bunch of little things they look for. Obviously knowing a
Yeah,
little bit about the
yeah.
industry. So for those that don't know, what does IATSE stand for?
The International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees.
Perfect. So, and again, that symbol that you see at the end of a show.
I wish I had. I'm dressed like a traffic cone. I came from
That's okay.
something I had to do, and usually we're in all black, and I have my emblem on. I don't normally look like a traffic cone.
Yeah, and we're okay with you looking like a traffic cone, man. Working people, brother.
Yes, that's exactly why I came straight from a job.
Right.
Yes, where I was out in the street where I
Right,
needed
you
to
didn't
be
want to get
seen.
run over.
Right. Yes, you got to stay safe. Safety first.
I figured that's why you were wearing
Yeah,
those colors.
yes.
I was like, you must have been on a job that was in the street
Yes.
somewhere, and you got to make sure you don't get run over. So, what you kind of described some of the things that you do. Is there anything else you want to describe about what Local 122 represents?
So, like I said, I just transferred.
Okay.
I'm brand new to Local 122.
Or give
but
it,
I could
give
talk
if
about
you know more about the general
the
sense, yeah.
IATSE in general. It's the brother and sisterhood of workers representing the entertainment industry is probably the best way I could sum it up personally. From my personal opinion, that's what I've seen, where we work together, because there's some things, everybody wants to be involved in the big flashy stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
Hollywood, everybody, movie stars and Broadway. And I did just come off a Broadway show. But there's also the little things that you don't think about, right? Like hotel workers. So in a hotel, if you're having a business convention and there's a display screen, there's a monitor, there's a PA system, those workers as well, we could represent. So we work to get everyone the equal and fair pay that they deserve, because it is a very niche industry that takes a lot of skill.
Yeah.
And it can be very dangerous. We hang everything over your head, literally. The cameras, the lights, there's the giant truss that we have to put all that on. It's heavy, it's dangerous. A lot of working from heights, a lot of high speed, right? And if you go into like the rock and roll stuff, you got to build the whole show and pack the whole show up and get it back on the road in the same day. So there's a lot of, a lot of danger, and we need to have people safe,
And you have
trained,
to
and
know
compensated.
what you're doing, because if you
Yes.
mess up and something falls and lands on someone, you can kill them very easily.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on the recent attacks when it comes to collective bargaining in America by corporate America?
So
Here's your logo. Seeing as you weren't
Yes.
wearing a shirt.
thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert, so much. That is our logo. That is the little emblem.
Isn't
you
Robert
see
great?
that runs by.
You're like, hey, I
yes.
don't have my logo. So we for those of you that watch, we're
Yeah,
actually
that is
surprised
it.
at how many people watch the show. At first,
Don't
I
tell
was
me
kind of
that.
ignoring it, and then I had all these people giving me a bunch of guff over what I was doing in the studio, and I was like, okay, I got to start paying attention to that camera. Anyway,
Yes.
so yeah, we got your logo. I think. Sorry for interrupting you. I think you were talking about the danger of stuff dropping and all
Well,
that.
yeah, and you brought up the point of the collective bargaining and the attack on the working class. That's kind of how I look at it, and that's why I agreed to come on this show right away, right? Because all the unions, if we all work together, we're the largest, I believe, group of people in the country, right? The working class. We're the ones that put ourselves, our bodies, our families,
78%
Yes.
of the population,
yes,
Right,
on the line
right.
to keep everything running. So to support each other and to work together to make sure, right, our key points are the safety, making sure we have good living conditions, right? When we all know about inflation and everything going on, if a loaf of bread is tripled in price, then, asking for compensation to feed our families
Yeah.
isn't too much to ask, I don't think. And that's where the collective bargaining comes in, because, when you slice the pie, right? A lot of people don't know about that. That's kind of where the way I explain it. When you have the pie and you cut the slices, it should be, in a perfect world, it would be equal portions, right?
Yeah, those CEOs don't agree with that.
Right.
They're like, I want 99%, and they got one.
Right.
Right.
And maybe they do need a little bit bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah, but
it
just
needs
a
to be
little bigger.
Yeah,
Right.
it needs to be split, among the
Not the whole pie.
Yes, right. What you do for your job, you should be compensated, right? In all avenues.
Yeah.
So that is that's what I believe, and that's why I believe in unions, and that's why I've always been a member of a union, is to make sure that everybody gets, compensated for what they do equally, so that we could have decent lives, with raise our kids, families, grandkids, all that stuff we do. Baseball games are just as important as getting the job done.
That's right.
Little
That's
league's
right.
important.
So we have a winner. The fifth caller is Elizabeth Dotto, a steward from CSS. So congratulations, Elizabeth. She now has a blanket. What we're finding is, when we're giving this stuff away, I mean, they're getting in a car and they're driving over and grabbing it right away. They're like, I'm going to the building. I'm getting that now. I don't see it disappear.
Yeah.
What else would you like to talk about? Obviously we were at the Labor Council together, and we were, talking about a lot of subjects that go on. What's your take on, that collective space? And again, I appreciate you coming on the show.
So the way we opened this up just a minute ago, when we were starting this conversation about everyone working together and bringing everyone on the same page, that's what I found that Labor Council is really good at, right? Because we have power in numbers and a bigger voice, and to get that message out to people that don't understand labor unions, or, there's the anti-union, I've heard propaganda. Now, I don't want to name names here. I know we're on a live radio show, but I've heard of certain companies and corporations that actually spread this propaganda, right? Kind of demonizing unions, and people hear.
Yeah, it's most corporations in America. Right?
Yeah. And then people hear stories, though, right? They always have like you have to pay dues, and they're just going to take your money, and they do all this underhanded stuff, but they don't really know what we actually do in representing each other, working together. And like the word you brought up earlier, collective bargaining. When I started out, I didn't know what that was.
Yep.
Yeah. Or we have our different agreements or different contracts that we use in different places. I had no idea about.
Or the power to withhold our labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every worker in America has the power to withhold their labor.
Okay. Educate me.
Strike.
Oh, so I'm a last resort strike guy.
Yeah,
right? That's not on the top of my list, right?
It should always be.
Yeah.
But right now, the things are kind of crazy. Like, I think we should accelerate.
Well, that's what I heard. That's one of the things I heard that I didn't understand, because, a lot of union members, right? We have the Kaiser insurance. That was one of the things that we discussed. And that's one of the biggest strikes that's gone on in our local area recently, and the other unions coming up to support them, and being a member, and getting my health care there. I had no idea all the stuff that was going on, with the workers there, right? So that was a reason to go show up to that Labor Council meeting. And I'm like, oh, wow, I had no idea this was going on, and to learn more about the struggles that other people are having with their struggles and their victories, and we can share that information. Well, this is how we compromised, to come to an agreement, and we can help each other to learn those avenues, so that the people, especially like in a situation like that, where the patients need to be the number one priority as well, right?
Yeah.
And so that no one has to be negatively affected by what we're doing, or what the CEOs of corporations are doing, right? And remembering to take care of the people.
Yeah.
That's the important part to me.
Yeah. What gets lost in that sometimes is those that do the work, especially like in the healthcare field, or, public service, is sometimes they feel like their work is more important than their own independent needs. And sometimes it is, but it's not 100% of the time. And that's where workers still have to draw the line and say, look, you're not going to now exploit me, because if it were up to, the first almost 200 years of this country, no one had the right to bargain. Right. It wasn't until the 1930s, which was almost 200 years into our existence. It's 150 years into our existence. You now look at where corporate America has gone back again to stripping back and forcing workers to take a step back and making people feel bad for asking for 100% paid healthcare, making you feel bad for in the nursing situation. I only want X amount of patients, right? Or safety.
Which is, well, that is a safety issue,
Yeah.
right? Is having not being overloaded, not being burned out. Would you want your family member being taking care of a person that's spread that thin, that doesn't have the time to give the proper care that they need, right? And that goes, we're having a conversation, on the way in here, and the history, like you brought up, of our country, where, the conditions in the workplace and how much we've had to fight and how much suffering and sacrifice that's gone on to get to where we're at. People don't realize that, right? Like where the 5-day work week, where the weekends came in, where the 8-hour workday, all these things were created by labor unions.
Having to wear orange.
Right.
Right?
Is that us?
Labor, right?
Right.
Like you're required, if you're working on the street, you're required to wear orange, right?
Yes.
Like that's a
yes,
rule.
you
It's
should.
a regulation.
Yes.
It's not just a courtesy.
Right.
It is a safety measure that has been put in place to protect workers from getting run over. Right?
And the sad part is, even in our industry with the IATSE, a lot of times these rules and regulations we have, the really grim side of it is someone usually had to die for us to have these conditions put into place. There was the fire in the garment building. I forget the specifics, where they started getting more stringent, but that's what we fight for. At least with the IATSE,
well, they locked them in the building.
Yeah, I fight for all the time is the safe working conditions. They ask, a lot of times in a non-union environment, they'll ask you to do one little thing or another little thing till suddenly your life's on the line, without even realizing all your rights getting stripped away, and that's how we can. And alone, you all sometimes are apprehensive, as a person. I know coming up before I joined unions, when I was younger, someone would ask me to jump in a trench, digging a hole, and I had no idea what shoring was. And they, like you said, exploiting and taking advantage of that. I had no idea the danger. I'm literally in over my head in a trench, running conduit or whatever, and had no clue, and now I look back on that like, holy wow, man, I'm really lucky
jumping
to be
in
here.
a footing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That footing collapses on
Yes.
you. You're under 3-4 feet of dirt.
Yeah.
And suffocate.
Yeah. And having the right to say, no, that's unsafe.
That's
we
right.
need these
shoring.
things done. Right.
That's right.
And that's one of the biggest things that we push. And I'm really terrible at specific details, but I know there's a law that went into effect in California for state properties where we can go on as workers and enforce, OSHA style regulations to help increase the safety. And we'd like to get those same laws adopted in local jurisdictions for worker safety. And to protect the people, to get them the things they need to do their job safely so that they can go home to their families, right? Because that's why we go to work, right? To feed our families.
This is the content that we want shared, because whether it's wearing orange or, protecting yourself in the 2 examples that you just gave, like all these rules that have been won or gained, our billboards right now specifically say that these workers, there's a picture of the workers from 1940, these workers struck for you to have a 40-hour work week, right? And then below it asks you a question now. What are you willing to fight for? Because, a lot of people have inherited these rules that are being eroded. And if you didn't, as you said, die for it, you're may not going to appreciate that rule as much. And we're at that point right now. And I guess my question would be, how do you see labor and the IE being pivotal in the next couple of years of doing exactly this, of spreading this message and getting workers to understand they have the power?
Well, I think the climate of politics in our country right now has really affected it in a positive way, because people are waking up. They're seeing it on the news. They're hearing about it. They're hopefully tuning into this radio show and things like that, and becoming more aware, right? Because I've never been involved in these kind of conversations or the labor council meetings. I didn't know it existed, and I started raising my hand like, okay, I'm part of the problem or I'm part of the solution. So instead of, this was literally my personal thoughts, I'm going to be one of the guys sitting over on the side of the job site at break time, complaining about what they're not doing for us, when I'm just sitting on the side of the job site at break time complaining at what they're not doing for us.
Versus
Instead of
recognizing
right
what's
now,
been done.
okay, yes, I'm out on a radio show. I have no idea what I'm doing, why, how I ended up here. I just raised my hand, but that's what we need. We need people to raise their hand and say, yeah,
Put me
show
in,
up.
coach.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd like to see happen. And that's what we're starting to do. And we're starting to see more of that. You have a guy like me that's been around the unions for 20 years and I've never been involved in anything, until now, where I'm like, hey, all this is going on. We got to be part of the solution, right? Hopefully get some more youthful people in here understanding these things and being educated like I am about how things came to be and why they are the way they are.
Did you hear that, Robert? Youthful. All the old guys in here are pointing over at you saying youthful. So what do we got to do to capture these 22-year-olds, Robert? No one can hear you right now. He's all education and more of this, right? Figuring out ways to capture platforms like this so that people can connect to it.
Mm-hmm.
I got to wrap up this part of the show. Adrian, is there anything else you'd like to share before we close out your section and we go to a quick break and go to our next guest?
Well, I'd just like to thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for putting me on this side of the microphone. It's the first experience in my life to be on this side.
You're normally on the other
I'm looking
side.
at myself. I'll wave at myself over there.
Right.
Usually I dial everything in and disappear. So giving me this opportunity has been amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, we're proud of what we've done. And obviously at the Labor Council, you heard me specifically take a very aggressive stance
Yes, you
on
did.
what we
Inspiring.
need to do. I appreciate that because I believe I really do. I've seen how unions in the last 100 years have helped workers unequivocally, millions, have helped communities, have done all this positive, and we just don't get the credit we deserve because we don't do enough of this.
Right.
And we need to talk about it. We need to talk about that history. We need to educate, like Robert just said.
So I have a quick question while you're on that. I remember hearing something where there was I think it was a mining camp where the owners of the mining company went in and attacked the women and children of the workers to force them to do work. Do you know anything about that story? Is that a true story?
It is a true story.
And people don't know about that. They literally went in and attacked their families.
So tune into the Worker Power Hour because we do actually almost every show talk about one of those events.
Yeah.
We talk about the date, whether it was the 1800s or the 1900s or we talk about those events and we explain, hey, this battle, this situation, this corporation, this landowner, this mine owner, this steel owner, right?
Still around. And that's what we have at stake.
Crazy.
Those are the kind of stakes that are at play that the young people don't know about.
Yeah,
and that kind of information is important to have.
It's crazy when you really unwind the clock and you look back at what super wealthy corporations did. It's almost as barbaric as what you see when you watch these shows that like depict a time from like the 1400s or 1500s, like medieval.
Right.
You look and you go, I don't know, that kind of sounds familiar. Like these kingdoms and what they did to enslave people look very much like what you see some of these corporations. And that example
and
you
our
just had.
country's leader doing to us right now. That's what's at stake. Those are the same companies and corporations. They're all shareholders. Those companies still exist, and we are the people that need to, stand our ground so that doesn't happen again.
And they get to prop up those super wealthy people like they're great because they exploited the living daylights out of millions of people. So
that's a whole nother topic.
That is.
We could go on and on about this. Yes.
Adrian, IATSE Local 122. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate you being on the show. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan on the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network, airing live from San Bernardino. Mark, let's take a quick break. All right, we're back. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corgan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network. Man, Adrian is full of energy, man. He was great. I liked it. He was like, during the little quick break, he was all, "Oh, I apologize for, not being." No, man, we're working people. Come in like you are, man. He came in right off the job site and jumped in the seat.
Did a really good job.
And yeah, for claiming not to know a lot, he knew a lot. Like you can tell he really was inspired by the space we were pushing at the labor council meeting, and then he's inspired by trying to do good by others and to try to help balance the power for workers in America. And so let me shift to something we like we always do. We move things around a little bit here and there to figure out whether or not and this is so appropriate. Like our Teamster job that we're going to highlight works close to the IATSE members, which is a Teamster stunt driver. It's a professional driver, part of the Teamsters Union, who performs specialized and high-risk driving maneuvers for film, television, or live shows, while a blind driver is a stunt performer who operates a vehicle with the use of minimal or no vision, relying on cues from a lead stunt performer. A blind driver. It actually exists.
I found that very interesting.
Yeah, I did too. So the role of a stunt driver, I love this, is got all these little kind of tidbits in here. They perform stunts like execute high-speed chases. That would be fun. That'd be fun to be able to kind of like recreate high-speed chases for the movies, jumps, precision driving, and other risky maneuvers on camera. They collaborate with the production team, work with directors, stunt coordinators, and other crew members to plan and rehearse stunts. I mean, imagine the planning that goes into all that, right? Imagine how much time it takes to lay that out. I'm going to jump this ravine or whatever. You see these things happen in shows all the time, and there had to be a lot of preparation into that. Ensure safety, adhere to all safety protocols and guidelines at all times. Provide expertise, give input, and improve the overall quality of the production, and maintain the vehicle. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that they had to maintain the vehicle. They had to conduct routine maintenance and inspections on vehicles used for stunts. That is great. All right, 1932 news. I hinted at it earlier, which was, thanks for putting that in here. His message was on point. And somebody else said, great to witness how Corgan was able to get what he was looking for at the Labor Council that night. All better for our movement. Yeah, it was great. Right out the gate, he said, and you made a motion to get a billboard.
He learned how to make a motion.
Yeah, he was like, man, you fired everybody up, and then you said, I make a motion to do this. And then nobody, without saying it, nobody wanted to get on the other side of that argument, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's like,
No.
all in favor? Any discussion? No. Anyway, yeah, it was great. And I appreciate it's good to hear the story, how it comes back out. And thanks for the feedback in the thread. I really appreciate it. We also have a couple more live shout outs that I missed. Brooke Toyra, Laura Campbell, and Veronica Christie are listening in live from the local, from the Needles office as we speak right now. So appreciate you guys listening in live all the way out there. That's why I plugged you in, because you came in. Either I didn't scroll up enough. Oh, no, it came in a little later. So right after we got started. Anyway, and just as a reminder, obviously, if you're listening, you know that we don't start at 2 anymore. We start at 3. So I still have people starting at 2 texting me and starting to say, oh, yeah, that's right. We're starting at 3. So you're shaking your head over there?
Yeah, it's getting dark now.
I can't stand this time of the year when it gets dark so early.
It's no fun.
So in 1932 news, I think the biggest thing I want to talk about was this incredible event today. We literally had 1,300 kids come through here from the high schools. And let me name the high schools. Oh my God, this list is super long. Altaloma, Taquitos, Alessandro, Kaiser, Summit, Barbara Phelps, Slover Mountain, Redlands, Citrus Valley, San Andreas, Pacific, San Bernardino, Options for Youth Fontana 1, Options for Youth Fontana 2, Jerusalem Hills, Redlands East Valley. Oh, Redlands East Valley was in here. I didn't see them. Cajon, West Valley, Arroyo Valley, Hamilton, Eric Birch, Canyon Ridge, Los Osos, Ontario, Hemet, Sultana, Colony, Yucaipa, Options for Youth San Bernardino, Rim of the World High School, Colton High School, Adelanto High School, A.B. Miller. The school districts participating were San Bernardino City Unified, Fontana Unified, Chaffee Unified, Hemet Unified, Victor Valley Unified, Hesperia Unified, Yucaipa Calamasa Unified, Rim of the World Unified, Redlands Unified, Colton Unified. Nearly 80 different professionals represented 130 speakers and 1,200 high school students. I was saying 1,300, so I was exaggerating a little bit. There was a lot of kids here. Holy
Big.
smokes.
Big shout out to Becky.
Yeah, Becky and team, the training center team and staff, everybody stepped up to help make today go very smooth. You did a really, really good job. And look, for those of you that don't know, the reason we're doing this goes back to making sure that there's a familiarity to the union difference, so that when these high school students get into the workforce, one, they know to look for the best jobs out there. And number two, that they don't believe that propaganda, that negative anti-union propaganda that gets spread about unions, about how bad and how terrible we are. And obviously corporate America spreads that because they don't want workers to organize. And it's all just a narrative game that's created. But we found that, man, these kids that were here today, they're asking great questions and about this job and that job. And they ultimately were getting to a space where when they were asking questions about or pointing out what was great about these jobs, the pay or the benefits or, whatever it may be, they kept saying, oh, it's because you're union. It's because you're union. It's because you're union. And we just have to do even more of this. Obviously, 1932 can't just do it on its own. Everybody else needs to start doing this too. But at least with those high schools and with those 1,000+ kids, those 1,200 kids, we made an impact on them today. And they now got a broader view of all the jobs that are out there. And not just jobs, good jobs that they can buy a home, jobs that turn into a career, a job that, it's just not a dead end job. It's a job that's going to help you raise a family and retire. I know, as a high schooler, you may be not thinking about retirement, but all of you listening here that are a little older knows, that time blows by way faster than we realize. And if we get into a union job, we know that our predecessors took care of the issue before us getting there, and is not just leaving it on our back to figure it out. Like workers, as an example, at Amazon, workers that are non-union don't have that same future laid out. They still don't have that ability to protect themselves deep into the future. And so, again, Becky and team, whole staff, everybody, just a phenomenal job of making today go smooth, picking up trash, cleaning up, helping guide everybody around, making sure that as the students came and left, it went really smooth. So a great job by everybody. Really, really, really appreciate everybody kicking in and making it happen. And then I had a little funny story here. I brought my dog. I got little Nala. She's not little. I mean, I guess she's little. She's mid-size dog, English Bulldog. And apparently she turned into the most popular line for everybody. Everybody wanted to pet Nala. It was funny. I got here and everybody's like, let me take the dog. Let me take the dog. And I was, well, yeah, right. And I was like, no, I didn't want to feel like I was offloading my animal on somebody. And they insisted. I felt like, okay, well, they really want to hang out with the dog. And then they took the dog, and everybody else wanted to hang out with the dog. And then all the kids were taking pictures and petting her, and she was just having a phenomenal time. And I thought it was just, it was pretty cool.
If you don't like Nala, you don't like dogs.
If you don't like, she was like, man, there's all these people to pet me. Like, there's another one. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one.
Human Disneyland.
Right. She's like, this is phenomenal. So it was kind of funny to watch all that. And so they swept dog away and said, no, Randy, you need to go. You need to go say hi to everybody. And I was like, oh, okay. And they seemed to have more fun with Nala than Nala had with them.
Surprised Nala came back.
Oh, they did. They wanted to steal Nala. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. All right. So worker power news. Let me find the news here and let's talk about what's going on in the news. A newly formed coalition vows to fight big tech efforts that encroach on jobs and safety. At a hearing and a rally outside of City Hall, Teamsters and the Labor United Against Waymo coalition called on the city council to pass an ordinance to hold robo-taxi companies in Boston accountable. The coalition is the first mass mobilization effort outside of California to push back against the unchecked expansion of autonomous vehicles. Quote, driverless cars and trucks pose a serious threat to public safety, our communities, and the livelihoods of countless dedicated men and women across the Commonwealth who work as professional drivers, said Tom Murray, end quote, president of Teamsters Local 25. Quote again, these machines don't benefit working people. They only serve the interest of out-of-state big tech billionaires, and their opinions shouldn't outweigh the needs of Massachusetts residents, end quote. Yeah, like, oh my goodness, you get into this AI stuff, and I was in LA for some hearings a couple weeks ago, and man, there were Waymo driverless vehicles like all over the place. And I was just tripping out. Now, I didn't actually see anybody sitting in the back seat of them. They were all empty. That doesn't mean they weren't getting used. At least while I visually saw them, they weren't being used. But I'm like, no, thank you.
You won't get in one?
No, I won't get. I mean, it takes a job. So,
Did you hear about the one that the guy got locked in it in Phoenix? It was on the another radio station.
How long did he get locked?
He was in there for a minute. Like they had a software malfunction or something. He couldn't get out.
So did it keep driving or did it actually
No,
stop?
it stopped.
Oh, it stopped.
He was on the way to the airport.
Did he miss his flight?
I think so.
I wonder if he missed his flight. Yeah. I mean, that's, what happens. And if you don't have a human operator, how do you, I'm assuming they're going to argue, oh, well, there's just one person that's viewing 20 cars at the same time, looking inside the screens.
No, thank you.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I'm the old guy. Maybe youngsters will jump in and do it. Maybe there's some older people that'll jump in and do it. Yeah, I noticed we lost Robert, huh?
Hell, what happened to him?
I don't know. He ditched us. Breakthrough Beverage Teamsters in Florida win strike, secure a strong first contract. After months on the picket line, 160 Teamsters have won their strike against Breakthrough Beverage at facilities throughout Florida. Members voted today to ratify a strong first contract that will protect and reward drivers in Tampa, Fort Myers, Jacksonville, Orlando, Pensacola, and Tallahassee exactly 400 days after voting to join the Teamsters. So they organized, they went through bargaining. Obviously, bargaining fell apart. They went on strike, and they were able to get a good contract. The 3-year contract delivers major wage increases, improved paid leave, and key union protections, including seniority protections and guaranteed 40-hour work week. So congratulations to those Breakthrough Beverage Teamsters in Florida and throughout all of Florida. It looks like a lot of locations. Great job. Here's some pretty cool stuff. The United Steelworkers elects its first woman president. The United Steelworkers Union, a Pittsburgh-based giant of organized labor, has selected its next leader. International Vice President Roxanne Brown secured the presidency in a union-wide election. The United Steelworkers announced on Friday. Brown, a black woman, is the 10th person to hold the job. That's a pretty old union if you think about it, to only have 10 different general presidents to hold the spot. Interesting. And the first who's not a white man. Hey, that is a little late on the progress, but hey, I guess you could say the same thing about us too. She was the sole nominee for international president in an election process that started in June and stretched into the fall. Her 4-year term as head of the 850,000 member union starts March 1st. Congratulations to her. Good to see that barrier be busted up. And man, we should reach out to Roxanne and congratulate her, send her a letter, all that good stuff. It's good to see. And, steelworkers have been around a long time. The steelworkers have been around since the late 1800s. They were, maybe they're going off of, there was a name change in the early 1900s. So maybe they're going off of that. But 10 presidents over their time, that's obviously individuals stayed in the position and held the position for a very long time. And so glad to see a progressive approach that the membership and the leadership of that organization has Roxanne Brown leading them into the future, especially in these very challenging times for unions. How major labor unions are being positioned when it comes to AI. So far, unions in the United States have adopted a fairly consistent tone on AI that the technology has the potential to improve productivity and benefit society, but workers need to be involved in where and how it is developed. The AFL-CIO, a federation of 63 unions representing roughly 15 million workers, typified that posture in a report published earlier this month. There is a path where new technology, this is a quote, there is a path where new technology makes work better and safer with good union jobs that have fair pay and better quality, better job quality, the group wrote, end quote. In this, actually beginning quote again, in this vision, working people have economic security, knowing that companies and public agencies must follow rules to make sure technology such as artificial intelligence is used safely, responsibly, and fairly. Yeah.
Look who I found.
Oh, Robert, you're back.
Robert, you're supposed to send a mailer or a congratulations out.
This show runs because of my labor.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay. Well, Robert. Yeah, he ditched us for like 15, 20 minutes. I thought maybe he went to go eat lunch, get a steak or something.
He didn't even bring Starbucks
He's
back.
now holding up a picket sign on us. Yeah, when you went to Starbucks just now, actually not Starbucks, a local coffee shop. When you went to the local coffee shop, you should have brought us a coffee back.
Oh, you're right. I apologize.
Don't go to Starbucks. We're going to talk about Starbucks in the news here in a minute.
Slow Bloom, they're Teamsters.
Yes, right. Got to go to Slow Bloom. If you're in here, they're Teamsters. They're local coffee shop in Redlands. That is where you go to Slow Bloom. Starbucks union workers plan strike next week unless the company agrees to a contract. Starbucks union members have voted to strike at the company's U.S. stores next week unless it finalizes a contract agreement, the union said on Wednesday. We had, I forget her name. Was it Veronica or was it Veronica? Yeah, we had Veronica on the show a couple weeks ago, or it could have been a week ago. I don't know. My sense of time sometimes gets lost. But, they're finally going to pull the trigger and withhold their labor and shut it down if Starbucks doesn't agree to a contract. Good for them. The strike would begin on November 13, which is the day Starbucks plans to distribute free reusable red cups. Red Cup Day, a Starbucks tradition since 2018, is typically one of the company's busiest days of the year. Good timing. Starbucks Workers United, the union organizing baristas, didn't say how many stores would be impacted, but it said it would be at least 25 cities planned to strike, and more locations could be added if the union doesn't see substantial progress. So good for them. It's good to see the fact that around 550 of the Starbucks' 10,000 company-operated stores have currently organized, and it's good to see that continue to grow. And, I found that the local communities are real, supportive of those workers. I feel like those workers walked off the job. I mean, who's going to be mad that I can't get my $6 coffee today? Well, no, you guys can't raise your hand. My point is I think that the general public goes, yeah, I'll just go somewhere else, right? I'll just go to what's another coffee place?
Dutch Brothers.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Dutch Brothers. I'll go
They're
to Dutch
actually they're coming up.
Yeah.
They're getting quite popular.
And they taste better too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or go to the local, you should always try to go to shop local first. So, hey, Starbucks union workers plan to strike. Great to see that's
Got coffee nuts in Rialto.
that's moving to the next level. We got coffee nuts there.
There's 2 in Rialto and 1 in, what's the other one? Fontana.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Rancho, right?
Yeah.
Rancho, Rialto, Fontana.
Right.
I don't know. We got to look. We can't keep track of all
Yeah,
this
they'll just
stuff
have
all
to
the time.
download the app and figure it out.
I'm going to get into a longer discussion in the news after our next guest. But I will cover this real quick. Amazon cuts 14,000 corporate jobs as spending on AI accelerates. At least that's what they're saying. I don't agree with that. I think that they do this at a certain time of the year to say this. And ironically, here's what's crazy is that when they project stock or give stock value, if a company announces it's laying off people, their stock price improves. It's insane. It's insane. Like every year you get these corporations that do this kind of stuff. So this is what the article reads: Amazon will cut 14,000 corporate jobs. Yeah. Cut the only jobs where people can afford to actually buy a home if you work for Amazon. Because if you work for Amazon anywhere else other than the corporate jobs, you can't afford to buy a home. Anyway, 14,000 corporate jobs as the online retail giant ramps up spending on artificial intelligence while trimming spending. In June, the CEO, Andy Jassy, who has aggressively sought to cut costs since becoming the CEO in 2021, said that he anticipated generative AI would reduce Amazon's corporate workforce in the next few years. Jassy said at the time that Amazon had more than 1,000 generative AI services and applications in progress or built, but that figure was a small fraction of what it plans to build. Yeah, even you corporate people, even all the executives, I hate to laugh, but like even they're not going to be able to hide from this AI stuff, right? Like they're not going to need you either. So, are you agreeing to things that eliminate your job too? Then what job are you going to do? That's pretty crazy. Jassy said at the time, Jassy encouraged employees to get on board with the company's AI plans so I can hurry up and eliminate your job. That's not in the article. I added that last piece, by the way. Did you think it was in there? Did I read it like it was in there? Earlier that month, Amazon announced that it was planning to invest $10 billion toward building a campus in North Carolina to expand its cloud computing and artificial intelligence infrastructure. Interesting. All I got to say is this stuff's dangerous. Like, I get that we can utilize AI and technology to improve efficiency in certain things, but you have to be careful not to let it go too far. And, these movies that we watch where all these robots are standing around doing work and we're all living in these cubicles, we're all living in containers. There's a bunch of movies that have that sort of like backdrop. And, we're just living in containers playing video games or something. No, it's not the Terminator. There's a few, I forget what those movies are, but like these corporations, that's what they want. They want it to where AI is in control of all this stuff. So that's the news. I do have a couple more things to report on. Unions warn federal government gutting public service with plans to cut 28,000 more jobs. That's coming out of Canada, right? What's that one? Sorry. My bad, everybody. I mixed up something here. So just ignore that. I only got a minute left anyway. I'm trying to kill a little bit of time before the top of the hour and we get into the next segment. So with that, this is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network. Let's just go to music. Let the music go to the break. Mark. Live from San Bernardino. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. Take it away, Mark.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda is sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932. Protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
NBC News Radio. I'm Chris Coraggio. The NTSB says it's working to find out what went wrong before a UPS plane crashed in a giant fireball yesterday. At least 11 people are dead and nearly a dozen are hurt following the crash at Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. NTSB member Todd Inman says ground video appears to show the left engine detaching from the wing just before the plane fell back down to earth right after takeoff. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear fears the death toll will grow as emergency operations continue. Wall Street is closing with stocks in the green. This comes as the Supreme Court is weighing the legality of President Trump's tariffs. The justices heard arguments today after the High Court agreed to fast-track the case, and the tariffs will stay in place until the court makes a decision. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 225 points, the S&P 500 jumped 24 points, and the NASDAQ gained 151 points. I'm Chris Coraggio, NBC News Radio.
Are you looking for a good union job? The Inland Empire's 14,000 members strong Teamsters Local 1932 has opened a training center to get working people trained and placed in open positions in public service clerical work and in jobs in the logistics industry. This is a new opportunity to advance your career and raise standards across the region. Visit 1932trainingcenter.org to enroll today. That's 1932trainingcenter.org.
It's that time of year again. No, not the holidays. Medicare open enrollment. And if you have questions about Medicare, you should talk to the local experts, Paul Barrich and Associates. Paul and his agents are certified with plans that are accepted by most of the medical groups in our area. Call 909-793-0385. That's 909-793-0385. Their services are free, and after 43 years in the business, their agents are trained to help you pick the plan that's right for you.
This segment sponsored by our friends at the all-new Sammy's Restaurant. Sammy's is now open in Calamasa at exit 88 off the 10 freeway next to the Jack in the Box in the former Bob's Big Boy Restaurant. Not to name drop, but Sammy's in the former Bob's is a lot like Norm's. It has an extensive menu with multiple restaurants in Rialto and places like Upland and Rancho Cucamonga. Sammy's is a great place to dine. Their menu is very similar with their American trio of delicious steak, shrimp, and chicken, and an expansive menu. You won't go hungry and you won't go broke at Sammy's. You can come meet Sammy and his family. Sammy was a chief cook for Norm's for years, and it shows in his menu. Sammy's is a great place to meet the family, friends, or have a community meeting. You can ask about their private meeting room, available for parties of 15 or more on a first-come, first-served basis. Sammy's is now open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day at 540 Sandalwood Drive off of exit 88 at the 10 freeway in Calamasa. Look for the Big Boy statue. It's still there. We thank Sammy for returning to this station as a loyal sponsor. You can find more info about Sammy's at sammyscafe.net. That's sammyscafe.net, where you can also find discount coupons to save money. And by the way, Sammy's has free Wi-Fi too. Sammy's in Calamasa, Rialto, or one of their other locations are ready to serve you. Sammy's is now open in Calamasa.
For KCAA 1050 AM NBC News Radio and Express 106.5 FM. Businessman and the owner of the Mission Inn, Dwayne Roberts, has died at the age of 88. In 1992, the Mission Inn was surrounded by chain-link fences and had been that way for several years. Dwayne Roberts, a businessman in Laguna Hills who'd grown up in Riverside and had a sentimental attachment to the Riverside property, made an offer of $15.6 million, and the rest is restoration history. The Festival of Lights displayed each holiday season made Riverside a city to visit, especially during the season. Roberts, who owned the Mission Inn for the next 32 years, died Saturday at his home in his sleep, surrounded by his family. Senator Alex Padilla has ruled out the run for California governor. Without a clear frontrunner in the race for governor, the U.S. Senator was considered a formidable candidate. He made the announcement earlier this week from the U.S. Capitol. He will remain in the Senate, where he feels he can continue to work on fundamental rights and issues. Taco Bell launched a live Mas Cafe in Chula Vista and opened 3 locations in Orange County and San Diego County in September. And now Taco Bell's new beverage concept called Live Mas Cafe has arrived in the Inland Empire. The restaurants are in Corona, Riverside, and Rancho Cucamonga. Live Mas Cafe serves more than 25 specialty beverages, including churro chillers, which are like shakes. The menu also includes limonada and refrescas. The food menu is the same as regular Taco Bell's. For NBC News Radio KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM, I'm Lillian Vasquez, and you're up to date. KCAA, keeping California alert and aware.
Now, here's a new concept: digital network advertising, where businesses display your ad inside their building. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, your company is going to thrive with digital network advertising. Choose your marketing sites or jump on the DNA system and advertise with all participants. Your business ad or logo is rotated multiple times an hour inside local businesses where people will discover your company. Digital network advertising. DNA, a novel way to be seen and remembered. Digital network advertising with networks in Redlands and Yucaipa. Call in the 909 area 222-9293 for introductory pricing. That's 909-222-9293 for digital network advertising. One last time, digital network advertising. 909-222-9293.
Welcome to the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan, a brand new show about labor and worker issues. The host of the show is Randy Corrigan, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Office and leader of Teamsters 1932, one of the largest public sector labor unions on the West Coast, representing workers in government and non-sworn law enforcement personnel. Randy Corrigan is a 30-year Teamster who first became involved in the labor movement by volunteering his time as an organizer with the Teamsters Union at the age of 21. Since then, he's helped thousands organize, mobilize, and achieve bargaining rights. He accomplished this by spending countless hours with brave men and women all over Southern California, in their living rooms, on the picket line, to bring workers towards victory. This is the Worker Power Hour. And now here's the host of the show, Randy Corrigan.
All right, we're back. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network. Back from the break, we now have the amazing Crystal Cortez in studio.
Alvarez, but yeah.
Alvarez?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a few name changes here and there.
Okay, well, somebody over here didn't correct the name.
What's your name? Cortez prior?
It was Cortez when I first came on with Teamsters, so that's probably why.
Oh, it's in the system for us.
Yeah. I've been
Not
around
bad.
maybe 16 years with
A
you
little
guys.
closer to the mic.
I've been around 16 years with you guys, 18 years with my current job.
Awesome. You're a youth advocate with the independent living program at CFS, correct?
Yes.
So I got that right.
Yeah.
So talk about your job. That's a long title. That sounds like a really, really complicated and important job.
You know what? To me, it is. It's really important. We work with foster youth who are in the system, 16 to 18, 18 to 21, essentially kids who will never go home. And so they need kind of a little bit more parenting than sometimes what can happen in a foster home. And so we provide workshops and events throughout the year that help them prepare for the real world. So some of these kids are going to need to learn how to get a job, how to get an apartment. Resources are available to them for school, employment. And we bridge the gap for those services. And it sounds like a really fun job, and it is, but it's a lot of work. And the people I work with are very, very passionate about what they do, and we make a big difference.
Wow. There's a lot of responsibility in that. And that's really, really important, especially taking care of our most vulnerable in times where there's this transition where they've got to start to kind of figure it out, right? Society can be rough. Like we can, our society's not not all that empathetic all the time. And
Well, the great thing about my position is that our people are former system involved youth. So I was actually foster and probation, and now I get to work with the kids who are going through what I went through.
so you can relate to them and they understand.
Yeah.
That is great. So what are some of the things you really like the most about your job?
Working directly with the kids, getting to have those conversations that I feel like they don't always get to have because they're afraid somebody might judge them. Being able to give them advice based off of my experiences and help encourage them to reach their goals and their dreams because somebody did that for me one day, and I'm going towards my goal because of them.
Yeah, and from personal experience, I can tell you that being in and out of foster care, you remember the good
Yeah.
and the bad. Like more so the good, honestly. Looking back as a kid, I could still drive to those houses
Yeah.
that were like really cool and really good.
Yeah.
Like I literally can get in the car and drive straight right to where they were.
Yeah, there are moments that I had that were really great, where people really loved on me, and there were moments that I felt like just defined my character.
Yeah.
And so that's why when I work with our kids, I tell them, this is your superhero origin story or your villain origin story. This is going to determine who you're going to be because what you went through
And they're
has
never going to forget it.
yeah, has shaped and molded you in a way that, could be amazing, good or bad.
Right. You got any funny stories?
Funny stories with my kiddos? No, I think I'm a funny person, so I think that's fun. I think
That's great. I like that.
just recently I was dressed like a Super Mario brother running around our independent city at Cal State. I'm no, not Cal State, sorry, SBVC, San Bernardino Valley College, and so we had some good times there. Our kiddos really enjoyed just having fun and laughing because I don't think they always get the moments where they're free and they feel like they can just be themselves.
So, what does the union difference mean to you?
It means so much to me. It over the years, it's meant job protection. Where I know, like in California, a lot of jobs are at will and not protected. And I was telling them earlier, I grew up with a single mom who did her best, but we didn't have a lot. And I've seen her work at jobs where she got fired for taking home potato wedges. Somebody told her, take home potato wedges, for your kids, because we had no money, no food, sometimes no water. And she got fired for, I think it was a setup, but she got fired for taking home potato wedges from a job. And, that always scared me because I thought, man, I'm going to go work somewhere and, I don't know who's going to be there and who's going to be trying to set me up. And, the union has been by my side in the past, really, really, really significantly. And just knowing you guys are there makes a big difference on how I'm able to do my job because I'm able to do my job unafraid.
Yeah, and comfortable. And that's one of the things that employers typically don't realize or respect enough is that union workers are more productive. I know there's narrative out there that they're not.
Yeah.
The studies have shown over and over and over again that they are more productive because they're secure, they have better training, they they're not stressed out as much. I can't say they never are, but they're
Right.
never stressed out as much. And that comfort of knowing that they have that level of protection actually makes them way more productive in the long run.
I think it has for me. And I work with some amazing people right now. And so there are no complaints right now. But I've had people in the past who I've, come across and faced. And when the union showed up, it changed my perspective. And it didn't make me a resentful worker. I wanted to work harder because I wanted to be worth the value that they put into fighting for me. And I wanted to give back in that way because I felt like not only did they represent me, but now I represented them. And it made me work harder. And I've been that person to work harder.
You make an interesting point. Whenever I'm bargaining a contract, one of the things I tell the employer when the employer is saying, "Well, you're asking us to pay more than everybody else," you know what my response is? Then you can ask them to work harder than everybody else.
Yeah. And I do
Yep.
because I appreciate when people are there for me. And so when, the county is there for me, and they have been there for me. I went to school and I had to really, really, work a schedule that was beneficial for school and as well as still feeding my kids. And they stepped up for me. And, so I have worked harder for them because there were benefits that I was able to latch on to.
Yeah. Now I hear you have a pretty unique story you want to share.
Yeah. So I um during COVID or right before COVID, I had decided I had wanted to go to back to school. And it's kind of hard because I every time I think of that, I think of my mom passing at that time. And I think about, her, she always said everything she wanted to do, and then she died and didn't get to do any of that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go to law school. I said, forget it. I don't want to have any regrets when I die. I'm going to go to law school. And there were a lot of things that convinced me to go, but just that passion and knowing that's something I always wanted to do. So I went to law school, and it took 4 years being able to work and go to school because my kids still had to eat while I was in school. I couldn't do 2-3 year program like some people. And 1 year, right before the summer, something happened at home. My son kicked a hole in our wall where we lived, and we found out there was an infestation, and we had to clear his room, and it was so much. It was going to be so much work that I had to drop a class. And we gutted his room, and we had to fumigate, and my son lived in the living room for a while. But during that time, I was so afraid because knowing that I was missing school, missing classes, missing credits because I had to drop that class, I started calculating what kind of cost that might mean to me for my graduation, for my tuition, because you still have to pay for those classes.
Right.
And then thinking about having to make up that class, like I was barely surviving going to school and working. How was I going to do that? Like I was sleeping 4 hours a day, I was at work 8-9 hours a day, and then studying 7 hours a day, and then trying to be a mom in between that. That's not possible. It was harrowing. I was so afraid. And I called around and I tried to get an internship to maybe fill those hours, because somebody said, you know what, try an internship. You can do that, as you go. Some people will give you a flexible schedule. And I called around everywhere and I couldn't find anyone to help me. It was really hard. And so after saying a prayer and talking to somebody at work, they said, why don't you call Teamsters? And I was like, I didn't think about that. So, you know, so I just said, man, what am I going to say? I said, okay, I'm just going to call. And I called and I spoke to the front desk clerk, and no one special. I didn't speak to no CEO, no man in charge.
Yeah, but our front desk is super special.
Oh yeah,
She's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So I just said, I am, a local Teamsters member. I'm begging credits. I need help. I need to find an attorney to be able to help sponsor me for credits, because if not, I don't know what I'm going to do. And, she had me call back, and, she had Patrick Silva's name on her lips when I called, and she just said, call him and tell him you're with your local in 1932 and that you need help. And I said, okay. So another prayer and got my wisdom about me. And I called Mr. Silva's office, and I said, I'm with my local 1932, and I'm begging credits. I said, I'm begging because I don't know what to do. I need help. Everyone else has schedules that I can't work, and I need this help. And he said, we'll create something for you. It wasn't a hesitation. It wasn't a, who are you? Where are you from? I just said I was from my local 1932, and that was enough for him. And they created something that was flexible, that worked with me, that gave me more than I thought I was going to get, because working with him, I was able to walk into courthouses. I was able to see the legal education that I was getting happen in real life in certain circumstances through the research. And it gave me hope, because at a time where I felt like I might be failing, I might not graduate on time, not only did I get the credits I needed, but I got to see the world I'm going to exist in one day. And it was amazing. It brought my spirits up so much. He gave me, I think, 3 or 4 semesters worth of one class credits in the summer as well. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful to him. You have no idea. And then getting to see the work he does, like the people he represents, like the work he does really does make a difference. I seen, a nurse get her credentials cleared, because he was able to fight for her. And with some of those jobs,
Yeah,
if you
that's important.
step on the wrong crack, you could, and not even on purpose, maybe something happened, or something that was out of your control happened, and you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was able to protect their jobs. And I just said, man, okay, that's the kind of superhero I want to be one day.
We had Patrick Silva on our show just about a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he told me. I'm still looking for the episode. I want to see him.
Robert will send it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got it. Yeah, he came on, did a couple examples on the breathalyzer and all that, and showed how eating bread and all that, actually,
No.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is interesting.
It's very interesting. And plus, I don't know if you know, I've known Patrick since, for 30 some years.
Oh,
We
wow.
worked together when we were Teamsters in the craft, and we worked in the warehouse together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's great
Before,
people.
obviously, before he went to school, before he went to law school, all that stuff. So him and I worked together. He was a forklift driver. I was an order selector. He had more time than I did, a few more years of seniority. But yeah, and what warms my heart about this story is, I have this long relationship with Pat, and to unprovoked see those pathways all kind of come together
Yeah.
in this really great, touching story, how he's helped you, very genuinely, like, I can step in. And he's always said, if it's a Teamster, because he knows what the Teamsters Union did for him too, it's like, I'm always going to try to pay back in this space. And he's always going to be a Teamster, and he's always going to treat Teamsters with that level of respect, the automatic credibility.
And he did. And I'm so grateful to him. And he gave me a new passion. And I've already told our local representative that, when I pass the bar, of course, I will be giving back as well, because I want to show everyone the grace and the love and the mercy and the advocacy that I got in so many ways from Teamsters. It's not just, you can only imagine, like when I look at my kids and I think, man, I'm going to be able to survive in California and feed my kids, and my grandkids aren't going to have to go through what I went through. Like, that has been what has come from my relationship with Teamsters. It's not just I got to keep my job in certain circumstances. It's not that I got credits. It's that my family is going to thrive, and it's going to be a generational benefit. And I want to be that for someone else too.
What a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that. Really, really appreciate that. Is there anything else you would like to share about the job you perform?
I would just say anyone who is a community member in San Bernardino County, always consider getting involved with CFS and the Independent Living Program partnering, because our kids matter. And your guys' advocacy by way of just support matters. We need hands, we need people, and we need people to show up, because when our kids show up to our events and they see your faces, they feel loved because you showed up for them. So always consider our kiddos in the best way.
Well, we really appreciate the work that you do, and really, I love the fact that you came on and told that story. Like, again, when you're in a role like I am, and you have a vision of what these things can do, and then Pat ultimately becomes part of our Teamster Advantage network. He's obviously an attorney now, old relationship from when we worked together, a member who's in need, interesting situation. You call the front desk. I'm assuming it was Michelle. She's most likely the one that you talked to there, but regardless of who it was, they then immediately connect you to that resource, helps you deal with what you're looking for. Powerful. That's what a union's all about to me. To me, it's what it defines. That's what I fell in love with so many years ago.
And I had been struggling for a whole week, begging, praying, calling people,
trying to figure out where you could tap into that resource.
In less than an hour, I had someone by my side helping me out.
Who was the member? Do you remember the member that suggested to call Teamsters?
I don't. It was just one of our clerical staff. And it was so funny because at our offices, we have cubicles, like the little walls. And so somebody just out in the corner somewhere was like, call Teamsters. Yeah. Did you call Teamsters? What do you think about Teamsters?
Love that.
And I was like,
what a great story.
Yeah. So, you know what? And that's the kind of
You need to yell out over that same cubicle and say, whoever told me to call Teamsters, dinner's on me.
I did. I was like, oh, you a coffee, but I don't think they were there.
Anything else before we wrap up this part of the show?
No, I'm just so grateful to you guys. And I hope others get the opportunity to experience how wonderful you are, and get to one day come back and give back the way I hope to. So,
well, it sounds to me like you're already giving back. It sounds to me obviously you want to do more, and that's
Yeah.
always great. I just want to point out the fact that don't overlook the fact that you're already helping these kiddos, as you put it, these
Yeah.
kiddos, right? You're already helping them. You're already making an impact. You genuinely are trying to help them, guide them, put them in a great space. And that's why we're so proud of our membership here at 1932. That's why we do the radio show and we're doing all the branding is, we're just trying to yell the top of our lungs from the top of a mountain to make sure that the general public understands and respects how important these roles are, and that there are real people, real children that are being saved, literally being saved because of the work that you do.
Well, I was one of them. I was one of those kids that was saved. I had there were things I never knew about, being a human being, being a mom, being a kid. I didn't know, you had to have 3 meals a day. I didn't know people were supposed to know where you were every day. And coming into foster care, it was scary because I was like, why do you want to know where I'm at? Why you guys want to, I could cook for myself because I was taught to be independent by my upbringing. And then I learned I didn't have to be independent. There were people who were supposed to be there for me. And that actually helped me, my kids, with my kids today, my kids can tell you they haven't been without a meal and I've
Right.
worked hard and I've taken care of them and I've always known where they are. I've been that hover mom, but because I understood how important it was, because I knew what that lack felt like. And I knew what a mother or a parent should feel like. And I grew up in CFS. I started at the age of 18. I've been there going on 18 years, first year and a half as a PSC, and then becoming a county employee. So this is my passion, and I hope to give back to it one day. I don't know how. We'll see. But I'm
The fact
truly
that you're
grateful.
still saying, I hope to give back, even though you're still giving back, says a lot.
It's not enough yet.
Right.
It's not enough.
Right. And I think that just hearing you can hear this like you're going to do it and you're going to keep doing it and it's going to keep happening. You're going to keep giving back. And that's a wonderful spirit. That's great energy. And it's good to see, if the whole world was filled with people like you, we wouldn't have the problems that we have. Let's first say that, but really let's just appreciate the work that you're doing today. And it's good to see that you're going to keep doing it. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
We've been joined by Crystal Alvarez, not Cortez, who works at CFS. She is a youth advocate with the Independent Living Program and a proud Teamsters 1932 member. We are actually going to take this clip, send it over to Pat Silva too. I think he's going to be very proud of this clip that just happened because, thank you, Pat.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Crystal. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corgan on the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Mark, let's take a quick break so we can transition. We're back. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corgan on the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. What a powerful story that was. What a Crystal did such a great job of telling the story, explaining what she does, and you could really hear her compassion, her empathy, and her connection to the job. That was just incredible to witness and just be a part of. And it was great to see all the corners of the organization come together to help her out. Hey, I said that I was going to pull a name, and you got 4 minutes, so you've got till 4:34 to call in. Kurt Garrison, if you call in, we're going to give you a sweater. If you call in, live listener Kurt Garrison, if you call in 4 minutes by 4:34, make sure you let us know at the front desk if he doesn't call in. If I know Kurt, he's already texting somebody right now saying, hey,
It's a done deal.
I'm good. It's a done deal. I want my sweater. So next part of our show is our Teamster Advantage partner. Our Teamster, for those of you that don't know, and if you don't know, you're living under a rock, our Teamster Advantage program has more than 1,000 small businesses connected to our network here in the Inland Empire and beyond. It's one of my most, one of the programs I'm most proud of, because I feel like we've made this really, really wide connection within the small business community, and we're doing the best we can to help small business owners who, they're struggling to get by in a lot of ways. They're just paying the bills, middle class, working hard, a lot of times working 150 hours a week, and they're not getting all the breaks that big corporate America gets. And I just think it's really important for us to do the best we can. And, being in almost 30 chambers of commerce throughout the IE, we get to have these conversations and relationships with the small business community, because the National Chamber of Commerce, typically is not typically, it is run by corporate America, and then tries to get these local chambers to repeat messages that only benefit big business. I actually had a chamber executive director today at the building, and we were kind of chatting about this, and it was nice to hear that chamber executive explain, yeah, Randy, you're right, that corporate America is not in the corner of small business most of the time. Matter of fact, they're competing with them in a way where they're getting all these breaks that the small business owner's not. And so I really feel like our message is getting through by participating in those chambers and building these relationships with the small business community. And our guest today is from Totally Raw Dog Food. Rachel Morrisey, right?
Yes.
Is on the show. And instead of me continuing to blabber on about how great our program is, why don't you talk about your small business and this cool product that you have?
Yeah, so thank you for the introduction. The small business struggle that you did go over is exactly where I'm at right now. I am a small business owner of a pet food company. And I started by just working with my dad, who for a long time in San Bernardino owned Far West Meats. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On Victoria Avenue. It was a generational meat company. It was USDA large building, and he wanted to downsize. So I worked with him for a while, started my own brand, and he worked as my manufacturer for a long time because he knew meat and he made fresh pet food for me and my brand. And then he wanted to downsize. He sold the business and we moved to Colton, where we have a retail location, and we ship nationwide pet food. With him wanting to retire, I'm taking over not only my side of pet food, but also his side. So he produces human food. So like steaks, chicken, for you guys, and a home kitchen. So that's going to be.
You don't ever mix it up, do you?
No, we don't mix it up.
Right.
But the good thing
That's
about
some good
us,
dog food. I'm just kidding.
But the good thing about us is it actually is all human grade, even the pet food. It's also produced in a USDA facility under USDA inspection. So it's legit human grade.
Mark said he's going to eat it.
If it didn't have ground bones, you could, but it does have ground bones for calcium. However, I do sell things like bison that you totally could make burgers out of. So it could go both ways.
Maybe we do that one day. We have no.
You definitely could.
We could?
Yeah.
Is she shaking her head? No, you definitely could.
You definitely could. As long as it's the right product, we can make it work.
That's great. So tell us more about it. That was a good description. Any funny stories? You got to have some crazy funny stories with this situation.
Just the only crazy stories I have is just working with my dad. He is, about to be 70. And so he's got the old school mentality. I have the new school mentality. So every day us working together,
It sounds like me and him arguing.
Our staff says that we could have a reality TV show because trying to incorporate both. He believes you need both to survive today. And I am seeing that. But those stories are really just internally, just the arguing back and forth between old school and new school.
So define old school.
So his is more of like a gimmicky sales approach. If you were to go on his Instagram right now, you would see that this guy is just doing too much to make a sale on Instagram. He's in the Dodgers jersey with a bat, and he's like, hey, let's hit the home run with sales. And I'm like, you just can't. You need user generated content. Everybody's seeing this old man's face cheesy every week is not going to work. So me trying to tell him like, hey, change it up. That's what I mean by old school.
Cal Worthington and his dog spot. That's the first thing that popped to my head right
Worthington.
now. All these years later, we still know his name.
Right.
So kind of works.
And that's what he says.
That's what he says.
Right. So
I must be the old generation.
Yeah.
She said yes.
Definitely.
So anything else you'd like to share about your small business?
Yeah, we
what's the discount that Teamsters get?
Yeah, so you guys get a great discount. I mean, it's already cheaper than the mainstream markets anyways, because we cut the middlemen out. We do everything ourselves. So you're getting a great discount, and then we do specials all the time. But I think it's truly important that you shop with somebody local like us, because markets, everything is getting more expensive.
And we're actually seeing this market actually start to be advertised on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You're right?
Right.
Yeah. So apparently it's a big enough market that there's enough people utilizing it to have advertising dollars in there. So
there's definitely a benefit that you are shopping small and you know that company is getting their meat from local farms, and it's legit meat, and it's not, made in a lab like, meat now. I think FDA says that there is a type of ground beef that can be made genetically modified. So it is important to shop locally and know exactly
have you seen chickens
where
lately?
they're getting
like
it from.
These chickens look like they
about
look
to
like
explode.
turkeys. Right?
Yeah.
That's like, that don't look like a thigh from a chicken. That looks like a thigh from an ostrich.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. But, obviously, on a serious note, feeding your pets, your dog, better food, they live longer. They have a lot less health issues. I mean, a lot less health issues. I have an English bulldog. So they are prone to have a lot of health issues.
Sensitive tummies. Yes.
Very sensitive, right? And by feeding her very good food, it ends up, she does not have the health issues that her sisters have, that all of her sisters have. Her sisters have a ton of health issues.
Right.
But I believe we're doing a better job of giving them better food.
Yeah. Human grade food is going to make your dog live a longer life and stay away from the vet. Anywhere from reducing tumors, possibility of cancer to, coat issues and allergies. All of those exist. And as we interbreed these dogs and try to get these creative, fluffy, types of dogs, they just come more and more sensitive. So it is, almost impossible to feed them kibble and expect them to do well.
Right. So anything else you want to say before we wrap up this part of the show? First of all, thanks for being a Teamster Advantage partner.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a small business owner in the community and putting your heart and soul into trying to make sure that you're giving the best price to the local community around you. And, you're obviously working extremely hard. And thanks for tolerating your dad. And, this older generation stuff, I laughed at the Cal Worthington because I'm thinking when I'm also thinking of Rotolo Chevrolet, like Mr. Rotolo, like he did his corny. And funny, the guy who bought Rotolo Chevrolet, Curcio or whatever his name is doing the exact same thing. He's playing off that same shtick. He's not as good as it was before, but
right. We can poke
it
fun,
still works.
but
I
am
think
saying
the
it
point
work.
that
Yes,
both will work.
we have both.
You
Yes.
can do both, right?
Yeah.
It's called generational warfare.
Generational warfare.
Hold up the treats.
Yeah, hold up the treats so that people can see. Yeah, that looks good enough to eat.
These are feet.
It
These
looks
are
like my
duck
Bentley.
feet. They are dehydrated, antibiotic, and hormone free. And they've got bones in them, bones that are edible. So as the dog is eating them, they are scraping tartar and plaque that are in the teeth. So these work as like a toothbrush on top of being a really good source of protein.
And this says keep refrigerated right here.
So that is steaks. Those are for you. I brought you some ribeyes, the best in the house, so that if you guys have a company party or anything you need custom steaks for, that that's where you can get them from.
And I can cook a hell of a steak.
Yeah,
by the way.
so let me show you.
Everybody that knows that's had my.
We want to know when.
Oh my! Oh my! All right.
Let's see those bad boys.
Everybody's going to be like, I want these. I want Randy cooking these up and putting them on the grill here. I will do that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, those are nice.
Take a look at that. Look at the marbling on that. Incredible.
And we can purchase these at your store.
Yeah.
Yes, you can
I
purchase
brought you
them at
guys
the
some
store.
flyers so you can see our pricing and everything that we offer. And then this is for your little doggy.
All right. Well, Rachel, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for promoting totally raw dog food and so what's the meat company now? Is it the same?
Inland Valley Meats.
Inland Valley Meats.
Right. Yes.
Do you remember when all the meat stores were on Valley Boulevard there in Colton across the street from the old?
I don't, because I'm
your dad
brand
would,
new
though.
to Colton, but I'm sure.
Your dad absolutely would. There was a bunch of meat markets right there across from the old swap meet. It wasn't swap meet. What did they call it back then, Mark? Anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah, man. What did they call that? Anyway, and a bunch of meat companies were across the street. Anyway, your dad would definitely know who that was, and I absolutely remember the name here locally in San Bernardino. So, old roots to the area, new generation making adjustments, carry on with time.
Yes.
Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being a Teamster Advantage partner. Thanks for offering 10% discount to our membership on top of everything that
Most
you do
definitely.
already. And if you want to get some good food for your dog, make sure that you shop at Totally Raw Dog Food. And this is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan on the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. Mark's going to take it for a quick break before we close out the last part of our show.
Thank you.
All right. We're back. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corgan on the Teamsters Local 1932 Broadcast Network, airing live from San Bernardino. And don't forget, you can always email us, radioshow@teamsters1932.org. Again, radioshow@teamsters1932.org. You know, that meat company that she mentioned her dad had, and I'm not remembering the exact name of it right now, but I thought it was a huge company all over the place. I mean, they obviously had a big operation here in town.
The Far West.
Yeah, Far West, right. And wow, it's crazy. It's interesting. What a small world. And now that, so we can't leave these without getting them in the freezer. The good thing is they're frozen, so we need to get them in the freezer here.
Right.
Those steaks, I mean, don't need them right now, but at some point before we leave, so that I can cook them up for everybody. There's like 6 or 7 of them there. That was nice of her to do that. And then I'll season them a couple different ways. And
it looked really good.
I don't know, man, just for the radio show team. There's so much steak there. We need to invite a couple more people. So, okay, we got about 15 minutes of the show left. And the first thing I want to do is fix the story that I kind of blew up earlier. I don't know what happened. I had a brain fart or something. Unions warn federal government gutting of public services with plans to gut 28,000 more. Federal unions are expressing outrage at the federal government's move to cut another 28,000 public sector jobs over the next 4 years as part of the plan Mark Carney says will make the government much more productive. This is out of Canada, by the way. The Canada Strong Budget 2025, sorry about that, outlines a plan to reduce the size of the federal public service by 40,000 jobs through job cuts, attrition, and early retirements from the peak of 367,772. So clearly this stuff is catching on, and unions are trying to warn, hey, look, you're going to run into problems by doing this. And it's not just about selfish intent to try to save people. It's also, we've been around a long time. Our organizations have been around far longer than the people that are running or making decisions, or these elected officials are. And we keep trying to warn them to stop cutting these jobs in the long run, because you're going to ultimately need these services somewhere else. The next thing I want to talk about briefly, that obviously there was a lot of elections. Yesterday was election day in California and all over the country. And there were a lot of really important races. And I stayed up as late as I could last night and listened to a lot of the acceptance speeches of individuals that won their elections. And I was listening intently for key words as I was listening to them. And that is kind of key words around working people, unions, and is the message superficial or is the message real? And I really was inspired by a number of the speeches last night of the winners, because you can see that even though we could argue that the Democratic Party, because it clearly looks like the Dems won everything last night, you could argue that the Dems have done a bad job of really supporting working people enough to be connected in this space that they get the support from working people. Clearly, a lot of people last year didn't feel like Democrats were supporting working people enough, which is why they voted for the person who is now the president of the United States. That has obviously turned into a disaster for millions of workers in America, and they realize that. And the point is that it was a shift to where what I heard a lot of these individuals that won really leaned into the worker message, how it's important to protect workers, to protect the laws and the rules around working people. I really felt that that space was more genuine than I've heard it in a long time. So it was really encouraging, and I was inspired, partly why I'm in a better mood today. I don't know. I had a couple people tell me, you seem like you're in a great mood. Well, first of all, we had 1,300 kids here and a great event that just went extremely smooth. And also refreshing to see that we're not going to continue to hopefully be led in entirety by individuals who want to crush working people and crush unions. And the one most specifically in California that was really, really, really propped up and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars was put into was the Prop 50 campaign. And, really kind of stayed away from the political nature of arguing back and forth about the Prop 50. But at the membership meeting last week, I actually had, and I covered this on the show last week too, and I'll cover it again. I had a couple people come up to me and ask me, hey, can you explain the Prop 50 from your perspective? I'm a little confused by what the prop is for. And the reality is that voters decided to redraw the districts temporarily in California until the next census, which is just a few years down the road, which would be 2030. And then it reverts back to the old system, which would have less seats for the Democratic Party. And so this is called gerrymandering. Prop 50 was created in response to what Texas did and what other states are doing, where they're not asking the voters if it's okay. They're not asking the voters. They're just redrawing district lines to essentially carve out more Republican districts so that it's the Republicans versus the Democrats. So Prop 50 is in response. And some people say, oh, this is politics. What's it have to do with labor? Well, we have seen in the last few months how Congress has very quickly passed some things to attack labor real fast. And labor is absolutely being affected by Congress's decisions or lack thereof. And, right now, I think it's important for us to really, really recognize that people came out in droves. There was one issue on the ballot in California. It was Prop 50. That was the only issue. It wasn't for a particular candidate. It was literally just a proposition. And I don't know what the numbers were, but the numbers were in the it wasn't like a very low voter turnout. It was a very high turnout, considering that the only thing on the ballot for California literally was the proposition. It's unheard of to have that turnout, which means millions of people felt engaged in this process. And it wasn't just about the political process of the Democrats versus the Republicans in your typical kind of political bantering. And there's a lot at stake with labor right now. There is a lot at stake with labor right now. And many of the things that were laid out in Project 2025 are being implemented right now. So this is a policy issue politically when it comes to what the Republicans are going to do, what the Democrats are going to do if they're in power, what Congress is going to do, what programs they're going to gut, what the Senate's going to do, what the President of the United States is going to sign on and sign off of. And so if the President of the United States says, hey, Texas, I want you to redraw your boundaries and just get us a bunch more seats for Republicans, and openly say it, the news clips basically said, this is so Republicans can have more seats. In response to that, in a very short time, millions of people mobilized. Now, the other key thing that labor had in this is that labor knows what's at stake when it comes to policy issues for working people. And labor got the vote out. huge. There was lots of not just rallies, but door knocking, phone banking, member to member outreach, to where the Prop 50 campaign was reaching out to union members, asking them to support a yes on Prop 50. And normally it's really hard to get propositions to pass a yes because it's a change. And to get over the no threshold, because there's a lot of people who just automatically no, regardless of the politics of it, because it's a change and it's easy to just say no, keep things the same. So to see it come down, I think almost 65% in favor, that's pretty. 65 to 35, that's a 30% swing. What's that number, Robert? 64%. 5.3 million votes yes. How many votes no? That's 2.4.
Yeah, and then 2.9 million no.
2.9 million. So, you on the yes side, 5.3. You said 5.3. 5.3 million people got out to say, "I'm tired of this," and we're going to engage and we're going to respond to this so that we at least can react to something that was just done, and we're not going to just kind of like lay down and let you run us over with whatever more policies that we can already see in Project 2025. I've issued a challenge to some people that are very, very much supportive of this administration. It's on a personal level. And I've said, pick up Project 2025. If you want to argue with me in the future about how great this president is, pick up Project 2025 and show me one thing that's good for working people in Project 2025. Show me one thing. I've been able to see there's actually one or two things that are kind of hidden in there that might be arguable, but first of all, someone's going to have to read it and they're going to have to articulate that. And most people don't even know what Project 2025 is, that is supportive of this current administration and thinks that everything they're doing is great. But show me one thing that's great in Project 2025, because if Prop 50 didn't pass, it would have been a message that the mandate, the so-called mandate that the president of the United States has, that the American people want these things done. And polls are showing that they don't agree with most of these things that the president is doing. Polls show that. There's a couple things that the people do agree with, but the vast majority of the things that he's doing, especially on economic policies and workers, they are not popular at all. So it is a labor issue. I really appreciate all of you that got out and helped on Prop 50. Thank you for voting. Thank you for encouraging others to vote. Thank you for just getting it done versus getting into political banter. And that's where yesterday, I think, is a very strong message. 3 acceptance speeches out of the 5 I listened to for those other races in Virginia and New Jersey and New York and others, Pennsylvania and other areas, were 3 of the 5 were spot on for working people. I'm just telling you from a labor advocate. I got 1 minute, right, Mark? They were spot on. So I think labor's alive and well. I think this is going to be tough. There's still a lot of things that are going to happen. There's more negative impacts on labor in the next few years. We still need to get out and work our butt off to make this stuff happen. We're building worker power in the Inland Empire. And how are we building worker power? Yeah, you're trying to get me out and shut me off. How are we building worker power? We got our billboards. We got our buses. We got the radio show. Our training center, all these things that we're doing. We're engaging the high schools. We're trying to make sure that workers understand that they have the power. They have the power on the job, and they have the ability to hold their employer accountable. And you need to have a union contract. And by having a union contract, those things are going to be spelled out for you. Talk to our neighbors. Talk to our friends. Talk to our family members, and make sure that you build worker power too. Longtime organizer, first-time radio host. This is the Worker Power Hour with Randy Corrigan on the Teamsters 1932 Broadcast Network. See you next week.